One of the stories that got me interested in end of life is the story of Ben. And because I got badly injured myself and because I wrote about my injury, I get lots of people who write me about their own injuries. They're not writing me to compare injuries, or they're not writing me to ask about my injury. They're asking me about how to move their life forward. And if you think about life moving forward, ups and down, then people have a real injury. And when people have a serious injury and quality of life drops down, it's very clear what they've lost. It's not clear how we gain something back. So the losses are clear. Imagine that um, your hand is injured. Very clear, very quickly, all the things you can't do. But what kind of life would you make for yourself without a good functional hand? That's not as clear. So I try to help people figure out the future. What what kind of path of life they could develop that would help them manage in a successful way with that limitation. Anyway, one of those people was Ben. And Ben wrote me a very quick email. Can you call me? And a phone number. He said, I got badly injured. Can you call me? Here's the phone number. And I called him that night. And it turned out that Ben uh, jumped to the ocean. It was a place that was very shallow. He broke his neck and became paralyzed from the neck down. And the physicians told him that the first year would be the crucial period to see if he would regain movement or not. And he called me just after the 1 year anniversary when it was clear he was not going to regain any movement. So he was going to be always paralyzed from the neck down. And he asked me, like, where could he find happiness? So we start talking. And he was a student of applied math. And he had somebody in his family that was working on a startup. And he said that we both said that maybe this is something he could help with. The person in the startup was somebody he cared about. That person cared about him. Maybe he could help. So we identified that. Then the second thing we identified is that Ben hated all of these books that said the injury is the best thing that happened to me. I don't know if you know, but there's a genre like this. And of course, everything is complex. Injuries have lots of negatives. Sometimes they have also positive. On the whole, I think they're very, very negative. I would not wish it on anybody. But I think some people confuse the fact that there are some positive with confusing the fact that the whole thing is positive. Or maybe for some people it is. But anyway, both Ben and I really dislike those books that say the injury is the best thing that happened to me. And we decided that he was going to try and write a book about the reality of how miserable it is to be injured and how complex it is. And I started following up with him. I would call him once in a while. He would send me some things once in a while. Because he was paralyzed from the neck down, everything was very tough for him. He had a computer with a keyboard on the screen, and he would look at the letters. And every time he would look at the letter for long enough, it would type it. So as you can imagine, typing took him a very long time. But he started working on an outline, and I gave him some feedback and so on. Working in the startup was too difficult. Writing equations with looking was very, very tough. And also his speed of working was inconsistent with the people who were working at the startup. So we dropped that and we just focused on the book, and we kept on working. And one day his sister called to say that he passed away, that he committed suicide. He kept some of his pain medication aside. He would spit it in a cup, and it accumulated. And he also wrote a diary to make sure that nobody accused his family of anything. And then he got his helper to give him that cup without the helper knowing what it was, and he um, ended his life. And of course, I had very mixed feelings. Um, I liked him. Uh, I knew he was really suffering. I was happy he tried to find something to find happiness. I was disappointed he couldn't. But I also felt it was the right choice for him. But as I was thinking about this, and it really was kind of with me for a while, yeah, I started thinking about Ben and other people. I started thinking about what is resilience? What was missing for Ben that he couldn't find happiness in life, and what helps other people find it? So I went on a journey um, to talk to people who were really badly injured and found meaning and resilience in life. And there's a podcast series that I'll link here about my discussions with them. But here is one of the lessons. This came from a discussion of somebody who also got paralyzed from the neck down. This happened to him in a bicycle accident. And what he did was he created challenges for himself. For example, he would ask his caretaker to lay his clothes on the floor, and he would try to jiggle his body into it. He had a stick and some movement that he could catch, and he would try to move his body into his clothes. Of course, there's Velcro and all kinds of things. And he would time himself, and he would try to get better. And every time he would slower, he would think about what strategies he could use. But the thing about this case was that this used to be bike rider set a goal to himself. And the goal was not too far in the future. It was kind of middle term, and it was achievable, and he could measure himself, and he could try to move things up and down. And that turns out to be one of the main sources for resilience and happiness. Another one turns out to be an artistic expression, something that helps people process the information. I did the same thing by myself, by the way. When I was in my first year of grad school, I read about the research of Pennebaker. And Pennebaker did this research to show that if people take a traumatic event and they write about it, it helps them process it, create a distance from it, and also put it behind them. So for one semester, I spent a lot of time writing the story about my injury. And when I finished, I went to the art department and I bounded the book, and I learned how to do a cover. And I had the book, a physical book, and I put it on the shelf. And the combination of writing, which was not easy, I think created like a separation, and having a book and putting it on the shelf was kind of helpful to move forward. So many of us get lots of difficult things in life. We get bad rolls of the die. Bad things happen. What is the secret for managing it well? For sure, challenges, progress, supporting loving family, and I think even some kind of way to express ourselves, our challenges, is a crucial element. There are many more, I'm sure, and hopefully we'll find many more of those over time.